Welcome to the PPI webcast as part of our BIM 360 portfolio of products here, and it's rocking the docs. So this is a presentation on BIM 360 docs. My name is Wendy Finch. I'm the Director of Marketing and Professional Services here at the PPI Group, and we are thrilled that you're joining us today. So really looking forward to this presentation. On the webinar with me today is Blake Douglas. Blake is BIM 360 product specialist with Autodesk. Our team had the pleasure of meeting Blake last spring at an Autodesk conference, and he's been instrumental in helping us present and talk with customers and showing the value of this product. So today we're going to do a dive in, and I'm going to let Blake take this over, and I'm just going to do a couple of clicks to give him the controls. But in the meantime, welcome, Blake. We're thrilled to have you.
Great. Thanks for having me, Wendy, and thank you all for joining again today. We're going to go through initially, what I'd like to go through is a high-level overview of the BIM 360 platform and how all of it kind of connects together, works together, what Autodesk is striving towards, and then we'll do a deep dive into docs. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to type them into the chat box. Wendy, I know sometimes I can get mixed up a little bit in what I'm doing, so if any of those come through, feel free to interrupt me. Happy to address those right on the spot, as well as at the end, we'll certainly go through anything that we might have missed or not covered.
Great. I'll go ahead and monitor those for you.
Perfect. Thank you. So with that, the BIM 360 platform, essentially what Autodesk is trying to do is take all of that information that has been loaded into the design files that, frankly, ownership groups have paid significant amount of money, design teams have invested a significant amount of time into building out. We want to bring that into the construction phase of the building life cycle. So you can see here we've got the pre-construction designation, the construction execution in the middle there, and then commissioning and handover. The first tool that I like to talk about is BIM 360 Glue. That's going to be that pre-construction coordination of the models, identifying any clashes between those models, and sorting out any potential issues that you might have pre-construction, as well as into construction execution. So as we're executing on that model, building that out, continually updating the models and running those clash coordination meetings to determine that there's not going to be any major issues on the job site. Then we have BIM 360 Layout. BIM 360 Layout utilizes all of the points that are put into the model via Autodesk Point Layout. So Autodesk Point Layout puts the points into the design file. BIM 360 Layout allows us to utilize those points in the field. So via BIM 360 Glue, syncing up an iPad to a total station, like a TopCon, out in the field to lay out construction points, whether it's footers, hangers, whatever the case may be. Laying all of those out with the model information tends to be highly accurate and can certainly be utilized for a QA/QC purposes. Then we have BIM 360 Field. This truly, in my opinion, is the workhorse of the BIM 360 platform. This can do anything from checklists and punch lists, managing those deficiencies, all the way through safety, mitigating some of those risks, identifying QA/QC via standards and setting those out for a particular project, all the way through to commissioning large pieces of equipment and then handing over COE compliant information over to ownership groups so that they can bring that into their facilities management tools. Then we have BIM 360 Plan. This is a pull planning tool very much focused around a lean construction model, so getting granular on the project life cycle down to a scale of a week, identifying what needs to be accomplished within that week as it relates to the overall project schedule, again, revolving around the model information. Then we have BIM 360 Ops. And Ops is that facilities management tool that directly ties to the BIM 360 family. So you can bring in all of that information that we've built out over the course of the project lifecycle, pull it into ops, then we can run operations and maintenance, keep track of all warranties, identify any sort of scheduled maintenance that needs to occur, as well as a ticketing system. So for example, a tenant in a building then can create a ticket that says, whoa, it's a little too cold in here, and facilities then can get on that. Then we have BIM 360 Docs, and as you can see, it spans the entire life cycle from pre-construction through commissioning and handover, and this is what we're primarily going to talk about today. As we go through, we'll talk about how it can be utilized in pre-construction, through that construction phase, and into commissioning and handover. You can see here that BIM 360 Docs really is that backbone of the BIM 360 platform. It's going to be that common data environment where all of our information resides, and all of these other tools will then point to BIM 360 Docs to push and pull information. Docs really is that lifeblood of BIM 360. So without further ado, let's jump right into the tool. So when I log into BIM 360 Docs, it's all user-based, and so everything that is pertinent to me as an individual user is going to be right here at my disposal. So you'll see here that I'm in the document management portion of BIM 360. Here is my project list, and these are all of the projects that are active that I have been given permissions on. So when I'm inside of this view, I only see what's pertinent to me. As you can imagine, we have a number of other demo data sets. We have a number of other projects that reside in the system, but these are only the ones that pertain to me, Blake Douglas, as an individual. Same thing with this folder structure over here. Our folder structure is very permission-based. If I don't have permissions to a particular folder, I'm not going to see that they exist. So as you can imagine, could be a number of other project files here. I can not see those simply because I haven't been given access to them. I'm only going to see what I'm given access to. Very important to a lot of users that are used to, say, a workflow around an FTP site, where, hey, here's your FTP, everything and anything is up there. Can be very difficult, particularly for subtrades, to navigate all that information, find out what's important to them, and pull that information out. Here, it's simply at their disposal. You go in, and this is everything that I need. Now, what I've done here is I've uploaded a single Revit model. What Autodesk BIM 360 Docs has done is it's come in here and it's extracted out all of these individual sheet views for us. It's named them for us, and it's tracked the versioning for us. So the system takes care of all of that automatically based on that Revit model information. We also have the ability to load in PDFs, DWGs, DWFs. Over 50 file format types are supported for native viewing within the tool. Now what I want to do is jump into a sheet view that was extracted from this Revit model, and we'll see a number of different things going on here as it loads up. The first thing that will happen is going to be these light blue squares. These light blue ones are automatic hyperlinks that are created. So as we navigate to this, we can load up other sheet views, we can dive into those, get the various section views, and then we have the ability to track where we came from and immediately jump back to what we were initially looking at. So now that we're back in this drawing, we also have these blue squares, a little bit darker in color, as you can see. This blue square is a custom hyperlink that was created. So I have the ability with this button to add a new hyperlink, and I can tie that to a particular document that's in BIM 360 Docs. You'll also see that we've got a number of other things going on here. I'm going to hide some things first. And you'll see here that we've got all of these markups on here. We've got some text in here, we've got some arrows, some freehand drawing. When we're creating a markup, you'll see that it's very much a basic markup tool, and it's basic by design. All of this functionality right here is through a web browser as well as through iOS and Android devices. So imagine someone out in the field creating a markup. We don't want an overly complex markup tool. We want it to be very simple, very basic for them to do that with their finger out there in the field. I have the ability to create this markup. So for example, if I wanted to come in, make a cloud around this reception area, I can change some different things, add some text in here or an arrow. So we'll leave that there, and we'll draw an arrow out here. And whatever the case may be, creating this markup, right now it's in a private view. So if I'm out in the field and I just simply want to make my own notes, my own markups for my personal use, I leave it as private and I simply hit done. Now if I come over here to our left pane, you can see David Sanchez had created a markup, Luis, all of these folks had created these markups, and all of this information is tracked, which version they created it on, any attachments that they've got for those markups, and their status. So all of these are published. You can see that mine is in a private status. If I needed to come in here and add an attachment to Luis's markup, I can come in here and I can add an attachment from our documents within BIM 360 Docs. If a field user needs to add an attachment via their mobile device, they'll simply click that same icon and they'll ask them if they want to take a photo right there on the spot. They can snap that and attach it to the markup, or if they've already taken the photo, say they simply forgot to attach it at some point, they can now go in there into their camera roll and say, hey, I want to select this photo that I took earlier this morning and add it in there. If, for example, I create this private markup and now I need to publish it and make it available for everyone, easy enough to do. I can simply come in here and publish it. Now it's giving me a little warning. This will be seen by everybody. Okay, that's great. That's exactly what I wanted. I'm going to go ahead and publish it. All of this information is tracked again, and you can see here that we have markups that occurred on previous versions. So when I'm in here and I have a archive status, if I archive it and we create a new version, it will not carry through to that new version. But as long as it's active and not archived, it will carry through to subsequent versions. So these ones that were created on version 2 are not going to be overwritten until they're archived out. We want to continue those through multiple versions until the markup is actually taken care of. Now we also have issues within this particular sheet view. You can see a number of them here, and we've got that same issues pane over here on the left that will identify all of the issues on this particular document. We have the ability to filter this down, various sorting, and then simply adding in is as easy as putting our push pin in the document, creating an open status, adding a title, putting a brief description in, adding a location if need be, and assigning it to a user. So assigning to a user, we can assign it to any one of the individual users on the project. We can assign it to groups of people based on their company, as well as groups of people based on their role. Now I'll assign this one to Luis, for example. I'll hit done. And what that'll do is it'll generate an email over to him that says, hey, you have this issue on this particular document, on this particular project. It'll come with a hyperlink. He'll click that hyperlink, and it will take him directly to this view that I've created. It'll highlight this circle, and it'll give him all of this information. Now here we've got this commenting thread where I can come in here. I can add additional comments. Other users in the project can come in as well and add comments, say, hey, no, we don't need additional tables, or whatever the case may be for this particular issue. Again, same thing with the attachments, where I can come in here, select a document from our BIM 360 Docs folder structure, as well as adding images directly from our computer. Again, same thing on those mobile devices. When they click into this icon, it'll ask them open up the camera or pull a photo from their existing camera roll. These act the exact same as the markups, where they'll carry through to subsequent versions as long as they're in an open status. If they're in an answered status, they will also continue to carry through until they're in a fully closed status. Once they are closed out, the issue will not flow through to subsequent versions. I also have the ability within this to come in and make some changes. All right, I forgot to put my due date. He needs to have this due by the 27th. And then, oh, I really meant to send this out to a number of people. I want to send it to everyone that's associated with AAA Boilermakers. Very easy to do and send that out. Now we also have our RFIs. So let's show all of those. Those are going to be all of the squares. This RFI here is in an open status. It'll open our RFI pane here on the left. We can see the information that was generated by that, again, commenting, attachments. The main difference between RFIs and issues is that RFIs are going to follow a structure. So they're going to go from a person that creates it to an individual that's assigned a particular role. Via the project manager, they can set who it goes to and then the path that it follows, and it's going to go linearly out and linearly back. So it's going to go from the person that created it onto the next person that's designated, onto the next person, and potentially onto the next person, and then back in the same direction that it came. So it's much more structured, often causing some sort of change to the contractual documents. So if there's any sort of change order or an ASI that needs to be submitted with the RFI, that can all be done. I envision issues being utilized on projects to say, hey, where are my materials for this portion of the project? Or, hey, this was left here, it's gone, now someone moved it, where is it? Any number of issues can be sent out to any number of groups of people, whereas the RFIs are very much a formalized process. One of the other newer features that I like to highlight within BIM 360 Docs is our ability to have a simultaneous view of the two-dimensional view and our other two-dimensional views or three-dimensional views. So I'm going to jump to another view here. It looks like I'm having some connection issues here, but let's dive into this model. So the key thing with BIM 360 Docs is that I don't necessarily have to have the design tool in order to consume that information. So here you can see that I've got a full Revit model loaded into BIM 360 Docs. I don't necessarily have to have Revit or be a savvy Revit user to get information off of this model. Again, we've got these same issues, markups, and RFIs over here on the left. So we can tag an issue to the model. You can see here that Stephen had created a duct sizing issue. Same thing with the markups and the RFIs. With this, I can come in, select objects within the model, and I can get the object properties off of the model. So as good as the information is put into Revit, we can pull all that information out of BIM 360 Docs. So you can scroll through here, get all of this metadata. If someone comes in and, for example, puts in the manufacturer information and their website, we could click that website and it would take us directly to that. So this is all live, as good as the model information and the updates to the model are. We can do a quick section analysis of this model. So if we wanted to add a Z-plane, we want to dive down and get a better view of what the floor plan looks like, it's easy to do that. We can get rid of that Z-plane view, and then we can also create measurements off of this model. So it's already set to scaling based on Revit, so For example, if we wanted to come in here and measure between this wall and this wall, simply very easily going to give us that distance.
Hey, Blake.
Now for, yep.
Just a quick question here. Jesse asked if he can use with NWD as well.
We can, yep. You can utilize NWD. If you search BIM 360 supported file types in Google or on any of the Autodesk forums, there's an extensive list of file formats. Like I said, over 50, I think we're up to about 63 now that are natively supported. So anything from the Autodesk portfolio of file formats all the way through to our competitors. We can support things like SketchUp files, some Bentley products, some CADWorks products. So I highly suggest going through and looking at that list because it is quite extensive. Within the model viewer as well, we have a model browser. So for example, if I wanted to see all of the doors, I can quickly select that. It's going to gray out the rest of the model for me and quickly and easily identify all of the doors. I can go even further down the rabbit hole here, and I want to see every double flush door of a particular size. It's going to identify those for me right here and right here. And then if I want to pull a particular one with a object identification here, tag, say this is part of a door schedule, I can quickly come in here and select this. If I double click, it'll navigate me directly to that view. So quick, easy way to navigate the model and understand all the individual objects and everything that's happening inside of that model. The other piece that I did want to highlight again was the split view mode, where we can simultaneously view the three-dimensional model and two-dimensional sheet views. So this one here, we're working on the first floor. We'll go to our first floor plan. Now, if I dive into this and say, select this door, for example, it'll identify where that door is in relation to the model. Or vice versa, if I come into this model and say I want to see this front fascia, it's going to identify all of that in the two-dimensional model for us. Or if I wanted this particular piece of glass, it'll quickly zoom in, navigate to that in the 2D, and then I can zoom out and see how that relates to my entire sheet view here. So very quick, easy way to simply identify how the 3D model relates to the two-dimensional contractual documents, or vice versa. Another piece that I wanted to show is our comparison functionality. So with that first floor plan, you can see here again, all of the versioning is tracked for us. One thing to note about BIM 360 Docs is that because it is all user-based, we don't limit you to any storage capacity. So you have unlimited data storage, whether it's sheets, models, any of those supported file types, as well as even non-supported file types. You simply can't view them in Docs, but they can be stored there, downloaded, and pulled out of the system so that they can be viewed in their native file format. We want anything and everything for the project to reside within Docs. So we don't limit you to any of those constraints as far as data consumption. What that also allows us to do is retain all of that version history. So we can come in here, you can see how our versions have progressed. And for example, if we've made some drastic errors here in version 2, we really didn't catch them in version 3, and we should be building off of version 1 because the most accurate. We have the ability to go back and make that the most current version. This also allows us to compare between previous versions. So I'll compare between that version 3 and version 2. The first view that'll load up is a stacked view, so similar to a light table. Kind of hard to see on a computer screen, but then we can come in here and colorize it. All of the purple is going to be everything that's been maintained the same. Everywhere that you're going to see red is going to be old information, and then everywhere that you're going to see blue is going to be that new information. The other thing that I really like is this slider bar functionality. So we've got our version 2 on the left, version 3 on the right, and as I move this light blue line here, you'll start to see some of these lines change. Right here, simply identifying that very quickly and easily the orientation of these rooms have changed and where those door locations reside has changed. So very, very easy and quickly seeing that and identifying that. Now, as a new feature to BIM 360, we have the ability to do that same functionality with the model. So if I select into that model that we're reviewing, it resides around that same drawing that we were comparing. I come in here, look at the history of our versions, and we'll compare our versions. So now as we compare version 1 to version 2, it'll do a little bit of processing for us. You'll note down here at the bottom that this green bar is kind of sliding back and forth. It's doing a number of different things with our model. Right now, our version 1 and our version 2 are stacked on top of one another. And I'll go ahead and close this out, and we'll move this to get a better view of everything. So what I want to do is I want to see everything that is a transformation as well as a shape change. I don't necessarily want to see everything that had a property change. So if you simply adjust any of the properties, that'll show you likely everything as properties have changed here by us adding in dimensions and various metadata. So as I come into this, you can see that I've got our changes here. Say I only want to see everything that has been added to this project or removed. I can select all of those modification types. This one is R1 removal. This wall has been removed. I can select this, and it'll give us the information on this. So changes between version 1 and version 2. This element has been removed in version 2. Now as we look at some of those other ones, so we'll look at our transformation here. We can select that. We'll get our information as well. So we can see that the area is changed by a particular dimension here. Eventually, short to come, we'll have the ability to assign a cost associated with that particular wall. And we can say this is what the cost change would be from version 1 to version 2. Again, all of this metadata. So we can really open this up and dive into all of this information. Really, really useful way to consume how we've been transitioning this model and adjusting the model.
Quick question from Mark. Blake, if you have a moment. He's asking if they can customize the colors that indicate same, new, and deleted.
We can't today. We are working on adjusting a little bit of those customizations for new, deleted, added. But right now, modified is yellow, added is green, and removed is red. We are working on adjusting that for supporting customization around that. Same thing with that color dropper comparison feature on the sheet view. Right now it's still red, blue, and purple. Working on adjusting those colors so that you can customize them.
Okay, great.
What we also have the ability to do with this tool is to come in here and download the changes. So when I select this, I'll get a CSV report, and it'll give us all of the filtered results that I have here assigned in this report. So it comes through, you can quickly export that, send it off to various teams, and they can get all of that information. Now I'm going to jump to another project here because I have a number of different things loaded up within it. So this first view that loads up is our folder view and our folder structure view. We can come in and, again, navigate all of these. You can see here this one has a number of other folders that are built out. Again, only accessing what I have permission to access. We can dive in and add permissions or change permissions to particular folders. We have a view only, upload only, and then a number of other workflows. Then we can adjust those. All of these also can be assigned to individuals based on their user designation as well as their role or their company. Within this side pane as well, we have the ability to subscribe to a particular folder. What this will do is it'll give me an email notification every single time a new project document is uploaded. So users instantaneously get that email saying, hey, you need to go in here and view this most recent document. We also have the ability to share this entire folder. So when I share this, I can send it to the team members that are already associated with the BIM 360 Docs team. So for example, Luis again, I can come in here, share this, add a note to him, and send that off. It'll send him an email notification saying, hey, this particular person has shared a folder with you, a specific folder. Click here and it'll take them to the view that I want to share with them. We also have the ability to see all of our issues. So this is every issue on this project. What I like is to dive down and say, I only want to see the ones that are open, that are assigned to me, and I'll leave it open on the date range. So I can apply that. This gives me an internal report for me to go in here, identify exactly which user created them, who assigned them, and then, for example, say I only want to go and see, or I want to sort these by the most out-of-date ones. So this one was due back in October 13 of last year. I really probably need to take care of this. I can select this, get all of that other information. You can see here we took a photo. I can comment into this. We can change the status of it, or I can directly navigate to the document that this was associated with. So that'll load up. We don't necessarily need to dive in there. Same thing with the RFIs. We get a list view here of all of the RFIs on our projects, seeing all the statuses, the various locations, who created them, where they're at. Again, having the ability to filter down. Now with the issues as well as the RFIs, we have the ability to create them directly from this list. So we don't necessarily have to tie them to a particular document. It could be an RFI on the overall project. It could be an issue on the overall project. It doesn't necessarily have to be tied to a document. Now, I'm often asked by customers, what is the difference between the plans and the project file section? We've got this faint gray line here. The plans section is where we're going to load up a model, a design file, or a multi-sheet PDF, and it's going to automatically extract out all of the information and create separate documents. So for example, if we look at this CD set, you'll note that the file name has not changed, but I have multiple versions in here. BIM 360 Docs, I've simply uploaded one PDF file. It had multiple PDF sheets in it, and it's pulled all of those out as individual sheets. Now I can dive into those, have those same workflows that I showed with the Revit sheet view with issues, markups, and RFIs. I also have the ability to come in here, select, say, a few of them, and download them out of BIM 360. So I can do that with the markups included. Those markups then will be recognized by other markup tools, say something like Bluebeam or Adobe, as well as the ability to include any of the hyperlinks. So the hyperlinks that were automatically generated by the system, as well as hyperlinks that I manually went in and created. So those custom hyperlinks will come through as well. Now when I download these, I selected 3 of them. It will download them into one file. So it'll create a single PDF file that now has 3 sheets instead of all of these sheets inside of it. We also have the ability to come in here and simply select one of them and download that as an individual sheet, as an individual PDF file as well. The Plans section also controls versioning based on the document name. So all of this PDF naming occurred based on the title block information. So we're simply pulling this title as well as this page number from the PDF via an OCR. We've defined where this area is, and then it goes through and names all of them for us. As we go through and say we change this file name, that's not going to affect BIM 360 docs. It's going to go off of the document name all the time to create that versioning. So it's going to recognize, hey, this is A101, lower level again. I'm simply going to version it regardless of the file name changing. So the other difference then with project files is that it's not going to extract out those sheet views. So when I load up a 3D model, you'll see here that it still has these simply as the 3D model themselves. We don't have all of the active sheets that would pertain to those down here below it. When I navigate into this model, I do have the ability to navigate to the sheet views. So those sheet views that are active, we have the ability to go in and select those, but they're not necessarily going to be separated out as individual documents. So we have that same workflow here in the project files that we had in the plans, where we can create issues, markups, and RFIs, as well as that split view, measurements, doing section analysis, as well as the model browser, identifying properties and whatnot. All of that's still going to reside within the project files. But the other portion then that is supported here is that we can download the actual Revit model. So this would be where you would host the model. You can come in here, select this, and download out that model. You'll note that this one, this mechanical equipment, has a lockbox next to it, and it was locked by Terry on August 31st. It gives us the exact date and timestamp. What that indicates is that Terry has downloaded this file. He's manipulating it in Revit because you cannot manipulate the design file within BIM 360. He's changing it, making adjustments to it. I can still go in here and view it, but I also don't want to download this and be simultaneously manipulating it within Revit. So that's why he's locked me out of it. And then when he uploads a new version, it'll automatically unlock it for him. So it'll recognize that it's a new version. Hey, go ahead and unlock this so that other users can come in, download it, maybe manipulate it additionally in Revit, whatever the case may be. But simply a key workflow here in terms of ball in court, who's owning the model at the moment, who has it pulled out, so that we don't run into any sort of rework issues. We don't want for me to come in here, download it myself, make changes while Terry's making changes. Then there's no way for us to merge those changes. For Terry's changes to come into my model or my model to go into Terry's model, we would have to go in and manually do that and do a significant amount of rework there. So that is our BIM 360 docs presentation in a nutshell. As you can see, this is all kind of the use case of BIM 360 docs. This is where it's going to be most effective for your field users, for your office folks to collaborate with. There's a number of other things that I didn't go over that PPI group or myself could go over in more detail if you were interested in pursuing utilizing BIM 360, like the upload process, managing users, some of that more administrative piece. Certainly we could go over those in depth, but it's a very simplistic tool. It's easy to deploy. Right now I'm simply going through Google Chrome. We support any number of web browsers, whether it's Internet Explorer, Edge, or Firefox, Safari. It doesn't really matter what machine it's on. It's simply through the web browser. On the mobile applications, the iOS app is supported all the way back to iOS 7. So I believe that goes back to iPhone 4s and iPad 2s. So pretty far back in terms of hardware support. And then on Android, we support both Android phones as well as those tablets. The main difference between the desktop version, the browser version, and the mobile version is the ability for users to work offline. So when they're on a mobile device, we understand that you're not always going to be on a connected environment, whether it's cellular or Wi-Fi. Construction sites tend to be getting further and further away from major metropolitan areas. We have the ability to do what's called an offline sync, and that is doing a quote-unquote download of the information. It's a very light download. It's very much a cache of the information so that they can go in, view the information, make additional markups, add issues, all of that same workflow that we've gone through today. And then when they get back onto a connected environment, it's automatically going to sync that back up to the cloud for us. So very, very easy from a user standpoint to utilize this information out in the field and then collaborate with and get information back to any office users. Any other questions that we might have, Wendy?
Yes, we have a couple of them. I went ahead and sent one in a chat to you. Some of the questions are a little bit lengthy, so I think it'd be easier if you actually read them instead of me reading them to you. But if you'd like me to read them, I'd be happy to do that too.
So here, I'll pull up the chat. So one question is, does the locator tie into the GUID? It does not within Docs today. We're working on adding in that functionality. Can you place something to a specific locale again, tying it to that location within the model? Not yet today. That's something that resides within BIM 360 field. So any of those push pins, as you put them on the model, it automatically ties it to a locale. Not today. So soon to come where it's specific to that location. Other question here. Can you talk about how you upload the model from Revit to Docs? We have tried using Docs and issue team. What's this? Architectural and structural models don't show up. Low one. Okay. So when you're uploading a model, you want to select the location that you want to upload it to. So for example, if I want to upload a mechanical model here, I would select the mechanical subfolder. I would upload here, and we have the ability to select files or linked files. So a file is going to be a standalone model. A linked model would be anything that is XREFed. When we do this, we are going to, let's say, I'll select the mechanical equipment. We'll upload that. So the first one that I select is going to be designated as the parent file. Then what I will do is go in and add subsequent models. So let's do this mechanical model, or let's do the architectural model, and then we'll do the mechanical model. We could even add in the structural model. So once it's gone through the upload process, so this is simply a bandwidth issue, excuse me, and we'll select the parent. What the parent designation does is it tells BIM 360 Docs which sheet views you want to be extracted out. So it's only going to extract out the sheet views from the parent file. So if I wanted all of those A101 and 102, 103 files, I would want the architectural model to be the parent model. Or if I wanted the M101, 102, I would select this as the parent file. But when we go to view the actual model or those sheet views, we will still have the other linked models residing ultimately as kind of background information. So if we've got the architectural model as the parent file, and we've got the mechanical model linked in there, we'll be able to see and identify those ducts. We'll be able to even select those ducts and get the properties of those ducts, but we're not going to actually pull out those mechanical sheet views. I hope that answers your question. If you are having particular issues with specific uploads of specific models or anything like that, feel free to reach out to PPI or Autodesk technical support, as well as myself. I think that we'll send out a copy of this presentation, and I'll have my contact info in there. I'm certainly happy to support any way that I can.
Okay, great. And definitely reach out to PPI Group. We, our BIM team, our internal BIM team, would be happy to walk through and assist in any way we can. Question from Aaron is, when working offline, is the entire project cached so that a field hand can pull up any doc he may need, or would the field hand have to know what doc he will need in the field and cache just those files?
So you have the ability to do both. When you first log in to BIM 360 Docs, it will show at a high level that initial plans section. You could come in. There is a work offline button up here on the right on the app. You'll click that, and it'll take all of the plans folders, and then if you wanted to, you would have to select the project files, and it would take every single project file. Because it's a cache, like I said, it's very light. It's not a lot of data. It's not going to take up a ton of space, but depending on the device, it may be enough space to where it won't download all of them. So, for example, I downloaded a model as well as all of the sheets associated with that. It was actually this architectural CD set, and it only took up 1/10 of a gig, so very, very small. So they could go in and take everything if they wanted to, or they have the ability to go all the way into sub folder level and select particular documents or models or files, and simply get those and offline, and that way it's even lighter than it was before. So either or, simply depends on your workflow. Now, one thing to note is that in order to get that information off of their device, they have to go into their project, and they, instead of a sync button, it'll have a remove from device button. So they'll remove that from their device, and they'll pull that cache version off of their memory. Another way to do it that I've seen a lot of users, because, hey, I've got a ton of projects going on, I don't know what's been synced, what hasn't, I don't know what's been downloaded, what hasn't, so they'll simply sync everything back up, again, automatically when they're connected, and then if they need to remove all of it across all of their projects, a very easy way to do that is to simply delete the app and then re-download the app. So they'll delete the app, it'll take all of the data off of the mobile device, and then when they download the app, all they have to do is log back in, and they've got all of the project data there with none of it actually stored on their device.
Okay. Jesse's asking one last question here. Can I marry RVT and DWG?
When you're uploading, yes. So if they're linked in through Revit already, that's how you can bring them into BIM 360 Docs as a linked file. BIM 360 Docs isn't going to actually create the links for you. The links have to be created in the design tools, and then BIM 360 Docs, by designating them as linked files, simply identifies the support for that. It's not going to tie them into one another directly. So note that they simply need to be tied together within the design files. So if you're bringing a, say, an AutoCAD file into XREF into a Revit file, you can do that in Revit, and then you would bring it in as a linked file. Okay, and we are getting close to the top of the hour, so I have one more participant who has two questions. So Jose asks, where are submittals? And also asks, will this work with older Revit files? Yep. So this works all the way back to Revit 2011. So supported fairly far back in terms of compatibility. Submittals are not in the document management piece today. We are working on adding submittals in. We have our big Autodesk University event that occurs every year in November. Stay tuned for some big announcements around submittals as well as the rest of the BIM 360 platform at AU, and those will certainly be announced online as well if you are not attending AU.
Okay, great. Sounds like good stuff to come then.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think we're going to go ahead and wrap things up. This has been a great presentation. Thank you so much, Blake. We hope you'll join us again in the future. Great Q&A and questions at the end. Again, if you have any additional questions or if you think of things after we shut down the webinar, please feel free to reach out. I forgot to bring back my own screen here. So here's our contact information, and please feel free to reach out to either our account management team and or our technical team. Again, we have an internal BIM team that this is what they do and specialize on these products. So our next webinar, I believe, is next week. So go to our website, check that out, and see if that's something you're going to be interested in and want to participate in. Again, thank you so much, Blake. We appreciate your time and your expertise. And we're going to go ahead and sign off. And thank you, everybody, for attending. And we'll see you at the next one.